Have you ever heard of Thomas the Tank Engine? If you've been around little kids between the ages of 2 and around 7 or so, I'm sure you have. My son adored Thomas so much that he could name every single train, knew what color they were, and even what number they had painted on them. I was glad when I heard that he was coming to visit me over the summer, but I had a ton of work to do. So, I bought him a Thomas DVD. The cover looked innocent enough. What was also interesting was that Thomas was smiling, and the little wooden children were waving their arms out of the windows in his coaches. The DVD was called Thomas and the Children. He was so excited to see the DVD that right off the bat, he pleaded with me to pop it into the DVD player. I went to work while he watched it. After a few hours, he came into my office looking as pale as a sheet. "Are you okay?" I said. I touched his head and noticed that his temperature had gone up. "Why did Thomas kill the children?" My heart sank like a stone, but I soon brushed it off. "I'm sure Thomas didn't kill the children," I reassured him. "You need your rest and some medicine." I gently pushed him toward his room. "Come on now." After putting him to bed, I got curious and started to wonder what he had seen. I popped the DVD and began to watch the episode play. It seemed normal enough. The episode began as Thomas was told to take a group of children to the seaside by the instructions of Sir Topham Hatt. I then noticed something very strange. There was no narrator in this episode. The episode then showed Thomas picking up the little wooden children and showed every single one of them climb on board. Then, there was a scene of him zooming down the rails like he always did, and the kids were cheering. But up ahead, Birdie the bus was stuck on the level crossing, moaning for someone to help him. This is when the episode started to unnerve me a bit. Birdie stared at Thomas in fear, but Thomas just smiled and sped up. He laughed maniacally, and the kids were crying with tears coming down their little wooden faces. Immediately, Thomas crashed into Birdie, and pieces of both of them flew everywhere. Usually by now, the narrator would say, "And luckily, no one was hurt." But there was no reassurance for the kids. The episode then cut to the carnage inside the coaches. Wooden limbs were broken off. What looked like actual blood had been splattered everywhere. We see brief shots of their heads ripped off and tears painted upon their faces. And then everything went to static. After that, I felt myself boiling over in anger. What sicko would create something that messed up for little kids? I had it paused on the static and noticed messages in between the static. Like kill, obey, multiply, and die. More messages flashed on screen, and at the bottom, one of them was, "Rest in peace, Thomas." I threw that accursed thing in the trash after breaking it in half. I would not expose my child to any more of that trash. Before going to bed myself, I went to check on him. He was happily asleep and snoring, clutching his teddy close to his face. I'm afraid that he might have been traumatized by this. That night, I had a nightmare. An awful nightmare. One where the children came into my room, but they were lifelike and as tall as a normal person. Their twisted forms grabbed my limbs and started pulling me apart. All the while, I heard that blasted train laughing. And then I woke up. When I did, I saw that I was covered in blood. I had a knife in my hand, and I'm too afraid to check my son's room.